This has to be a joke.
To go after the criminal gangs, to smash the gang networks.
To smash the smuggling gangs.
Smash the gangs.
To smash the gangs.
They said they would smash the gangs. They palpably haven't. That this ridiculous scheme of 17 in, 1 out that was announced a few weeks ago is a total gimmick. Labour have no plan whatsoever to stop the boats, and that's a tragedy because the boats will keep coming. We'll need more asylum hotels, and there'll be more and more social unrest as a result.
Another week, another groundbreaking immigration policy from the government. This time, they're going after people who advertise illegal boat crossings. Yes, you heard that right. Not the actual smugglers. Not the people funding the operations. The people putting up Facebook ads. I kid you not. Welcome back to the channel where we cut through the political nonsense and tell you what's actually happening. Today, we're diving into the latest immigration crackdown, and spoiler alert, it's about as effective as using a chocolate teapot to stop a flood. So Yvette Cooper has this revolutionary idea. If a boat has more than 80 people on it, they'll prosecute whoever put them there. I mean, wow, absolutely groundbreaking stuff. Because obviously, the criminal masterminds organizing these operations are personally down at Dover Marina checking passenger manifests, right? Here's what actually happens. Some poor desperate soul gets paid 50 quid to drive the boat, gets arrested, spends our money on legal aid, appeals 3 times, because why not? We're paying. And meanwhile, the actual gang leader? He's probably sipping cocktails in Albania, wondering which Range Rover to buy next.
To go after the criminal gangs, to smash the gang networks.
To smash the smuggling gangs.
Smash the gangs.
To smash the gangs.
Let's talk about this smash the gangs policy. How's that working out? About as well as you'd expect. Here's the thing nobody wants to admit. These aren't your traditional organized crime families with headquarters and business cards. It's more like a criminal pop-up shop. One gets shut down, another opens 5 minutes later. Why? Because there's demand. And as long as people know they can get to Britain and stay here, regardless of whether their asylum claim succeeds, they'll keep paying thousands to make the crossing. Immigration lawyer Ivan Sampson dropped some uncomfortable truths in a recent interview. Want to know the only thing that would actually work? Genuine deportation agreements. But here's the kicker. We can't deport people to Yemen, Afghanistan, or Syria because we don't have returns agreements. So congratulations, if you're from one of these countries, you've basically won the lottery. Get to Britain, claim asylum, and even if you fail, you're staying. The Supreme Court didn't even say the Rwanda plan was illegal. They just said not Rwanda. But instead of finding another Rwanda, what do? Panic and scrap the whole thing. Now here's where it gets really interesting. Everyone keeps saying, oh, we can't do anything because of the European Convention on Human Rights. Really? Because last time I checked, Germany just deported a whole bunch of people. Greece is housing asylum seekers in tents. Italy and Poland are basically giving the ECHR the middle finger on a daily basis. But Britain? Oh no, we can't possibly interpret these rules differently. We're far too civilized for that. Meanwhile, we're spending billions on hotels while our own people can't get housing. And now we get to my personal favorite, the cruise ship solution. Because nothing says deterrent like a floating holiday resort, right? The idea is to process people offshore so they never technically touch British soil. Sounds clever until you remember the Bibby Stockholm disaster. Cost us an absolute fortune and achieved precisely nothing. But here's the thing, even if cruise ships worked, we'd still end up paying more than hotels. Because apparently, when it comes to immigration policy, expensive failure is our specialty.
Ivan, what are your thoughts on this sort of latest plan in terms of kind of prosecuting people if they've advertised something to do with getting here illegally via the small boats?
Well, I mean, it's going to be catch me if you can, really. I mean, it seems like another sort of announcement by the government without thinking through carefully how they're actually going to prosecute. And I mean, even the smashing the criminal gangs, it has been an abysmal failure. And you have to remember that these gangs are not organized as we might think, because as soon as one is shut down, there'll be another one popping up, because so long as there's profits to be made in this business, And as long as there's a flow of customers, you're going to have continued supply from the gang members. So I'm afraid they'll be chasing their own tail with regard to stopping it, because it just will not happen.
And to be honest, anybody can see that. I could see that straight away. What about the plan that Yvette Cooper had, that if the boat was overloaded by 80 people, more than 80 people, that she would then, you could prosecute the people who'd put the people on the boat?
Well, again, it's about trying to find out who's responsible. You've got to prosecute the right person, the mind behind the plan. And they're so far removed from the action on the water that you're just not going to get. So even if you prosecute, say, the person who's at the Attila doing that, there'll be somebody above him who'll just replace that individual with somebody else. It's just, again, the Home Office not really thinking through what the practical realities of actually prosecuting or using these new powers they want to bring into law. So I think, again, it's ill thought. Again, the only way you're going to stop this terrible trade is to stop the demand. And the only way you're going to stop the demand, if I, as a Channel crossing asylum seeker, know that I'm going to be removed when I get to the UK. If I know that I'm going to be removed, that back to my own country, I will not spend thousands of dollars paying these traffickers. The fact is, we're not removing people. We're not sending people back to where they come from, the failed asylum seekers. So the trade will continue.
Well, also, even if you do catch these people and you're going to prosecute them in the UK, a lot of them then get access to legal aid, which once again, then we end up paying for. And then there's that merry-go-round of a failed appeal, and then again and again and again.
Yes, and also if we do put them in prison, we've got to pay for that privilege. And we've already got overcrowded prisons as it is. So, no, that's not. I don't think it's a successful policy. It's not going to work. The stop the boats policy didn't work. The smash the gang policy didn't work. Making it illegal to cross the UK, you'll remember Priti Patel, that didn't work. So the only way they can do that is to have an agreement, an EU-wide agreement, with all the countries linked back to where people come from, to have an international treaty where people are removed back to their homeland. That is the only thing that's going to work. Not even sending them to France will work, because all you'll have is the French then overloaded with asylum seekers. People have to be returned to their home country. Nothing else is going to work.
What is stopping that from happening then? Because if everyone can see that is quite clear, what is stopping that particular thing from working?
Well, the reason we had the Rwanda plan, because we couldn't return people with countries we don't have a returns agreement with. That is a problem. So let's just take, for example, Yemen, no returns agreement. Afghanistan, no returns agreement. Take Syria, no returns agreement. So as soon as you get here as a Syrian national or an Afghan national, we cannot return them to anywhere. So, and you remember the Supreme Court didn't actually make the policy unlawful. What it said was not Rwanda. So I think there needs to be some agreements where we can return people to other countries that the courts will be happy with.
Again, even if you said you're going to return them or deport them, they then go get their legal aid, and we end up in a cycle again. So, I just think, is there no way that you can have a system where they actually can't get access to legal aid because they've broken the laws and entered the country illegally, and therefore they are not entitled to it?
Well, this is it, you see. The government, in order to properly to stop this, has to make some really difficult decisions. Decisions that, as British nationals, we're not used to. Harsh decisions. Decisions that may, on the face of it, seem morally wrong. And also, we've got the other issue is the European Convention. So we've got to comply with the part of the European Convention, like Article 8. And I know Yvette Cooper's going to try and water down the impact of Article 8 when people make claims on human rights grounds. But I think that will be challenged.
But even Germany and other countries who are members of part of the ECHR are able. Germany recently deported a load of people, and Greece was able to house people in tents. Do you know what I mean? Can we not, A, make it less attractive, and then B, interpret the laws differently?
Look, we can. Again, you've got to make harsh decisions. Take Italy, flouts European law, blatantly flouts them. Poland is another country which blatantly flouts the European Convention. We can't do that. No, we can't be the sort of country that breaks international law.
Well, but they all are.
Even if it's politically convenient to do that. And so we've got to now, if you don't want to be part of the convention, come out.
But the others are interpreting it in their own way as well. And if it requires it in the national interest of that country, they are making decisions and they're interpreting it differently. Can I just ask you very briefly, because I've not got much time left, I've been told to move on. But what about if we had cruise ships and people could go on those cruise ships and we could then process them there? Is there some issue and problem with that?
Well, there's no reason why we can't process them in France. Why even have cruise ships?
But it seems... But we'll need some sort of agreement with the French, it seems, and it doesn't look like that's going to happen. So what about having cruise ships? They're very nice. People normally pay for them to have that, because that would also act as a deterrent, I suspect.
Not if you're desperate, fleeing persecution. You have
they're
to
fleeing
remember,
France. I mean, let's be honest.
50% of people fleeing are genuine asylum seekers. And if you are desperate, a cruise ship is not going to put you off now.
But what it will do is put you not on the UK soil. So it puts you there and gives us time to then process. It means that you're not in the UK draining the resources of this country and we then can send things bespokely to you, but you're not in the community draining all the resources here.
I hear what you're saying, but when you physically touch land, you're here. And there's a mental issue here.
But they
well,
won't touch land.
They won't touch land. They won't be physically in the UK.
No, they'll
but
stay
you
on
remember
sea.
the Bibby Stockholm fiasco?
Again,
so
yeah,
that was tried and it didn't work. And
it only didn't work because there wasn't the will, but I think the cruise ships would work this time. There's nothing legally that would permit you from not doing that, though, is there?
No, nothing at all.
Want to know the real joke? Even when we do catch these people, they immediately get legal aid, our money, to fight deportation, back to countries we can't deport them to anyway. Failed appeal? No problem. Here's another one. Meanwhile, we're paying for their accommodation, their food, their legal representation, and if we do somehow manage to prosecute anyone, we get to pay for their prison stay too. In our already overcrowded prisons. It's like a really expensive, really depressing version of Monopoly where the house always loses. So there you have it. The small boats circus continues, and we're all paying for front row seats. The politicians get their headlines, the lawyers get their fees, the smugglers get their profits, and the British taxpayer gets the bill. What do you think? Are there any solutions they haven't tried yet? Or are we doomed to repeat this cycle forever? Let me know in the comments below. And if you want more brutally honest takes on the stories the mainstream media won't tell you straight, hit that subscribe button, because someone needs to call out this madness.